Okay, I was hoping to get my Facebook live stream happening for this episode, but it looks like it's not going to happen. So it will just show up on Facebook when the time comes. In the meantime, here we are live with the Thriving Creative podcast. I'm your host, Gabrielle Senza, and this week we are talking about wealth wisdom, building financial freedom as an artist. So I love this quote. True wealth is not measured in money or status, but by the freedom to create and live on your own terms. That's an anonymous quote, but it says everything for me. So welcome back to the Thriving Creative. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that so many artists struggle with, myself included, which is money. And not just surviving, but thriving financially while pursuing your passion. In this episode, we're going to talk about building financial freedom as an artist. And trust me, it's not as impossible as the starving artist myth would have you believe. I'll start by sharing a little of my own journey. I remember a time when I was working on multiple art projects, pouring my heart into my craft, putting it all into each of these projects, and still at the same time struggling to make ends meet. It wasn't until I made the conscious decision to shift my mindset around money and my whole attitude around money and making money, as well as like implementing practical strategies that a lot of non-artists happen to know about, that things really began to change for me. I realized that financial freedom doesn't mean sacrificing your creativity, it means supporting it. So I've tried out loads of different ways to do that. And that's one of the things that I like to talk about on this show is like the many different things that I've tried over the years, the things that worked, the things that didn't work. And basically the goal is to collapse the time frame for you when you start looking at strategies for providing and creating financial stability for yourself and or building wealth for yourself. So today's episode is all about empowering you with practical strategies for financial stability as an artist so you can break free from the starving artist narrative and create a fulfilling, abundant life. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up your financial game, I've got you covered. And before we jump in, I've created something special for you. The AMP Blueprint, the AMP Blueprint. It's a step-by-step guide to achieving financial freedom as an artist, and you can download it for free at the link in the show notes. So let's start by redefining what wealth really means, especially for artists. Wealth isn't just about the money in your bank account. It's about having the time, freedom, and energy to create on your own terms. It's about making an impact in your community through your art. And there are loads of artists who have been able to put this into practice and exemplify this holistic approach to wealth. I can think of several. Some have supplemented their work with real estate investments. And so they are able to really support their creativity through the income they receive from rental properties, for example. Other artists who didn't have that kind of capital to make that kind of investment have side hustles that they do on the side, like freelance design work. I used to do a lot of that, website building, even consulting. I used to teach people how to use their computers, their laptops, their phones, things like that, which was a lot of fun. And other people, including some famous artists over time, if you look into it, you'll see that they actually had other careers to support their creativity. And in some cases, their creativity helped support their other passion careers, which is pretty fun, right? Anyway, I really love this topic. And I think it's really vital that nobody just puts all their eggs in one basket. Nobody just creates one solid single source of income for themselves, because that is really risky. for so many reasons. If it's a job, you might get laid off, or the business might go out of business. If it's, uh, just your artwork alone, then that puts a lot of pressure on what you're able to create, because if you're really dependent on those sales, then it's really likely to limit what you are able to do, unless you just have a surplus of wealth and sales, and just like you could sneeze and make money from the tissue paper. Then you'd be okay. You could probably do anything you wanted, right? But that's not the case for most people. So let's take a moment to reflect on what wealth means to you. Is it having more time for your art? For a lot of people, it's definitely about having more time for your art. Is it about building a community around your creative work, finding people who can appreciate it, who might purchase it, who might talk about it or exhibit it? Maybe it's about creating a sense of security so you can take bigger risks artistically. Whatever your definition of wealth is, I really want you to own it. There's always room for growth and expansion and new perspectives, but right now, just own your current view of what wealth means for you as an artist. What would wealth provide for you? What would wealth give you? What would it allow you to do? And what kind of person would you be as a wealthy artist? It's kind of fun to explore and think about, right? So take a few moments to do that. You can even pause this podcast or the video, whichever version you're listening or watching to. Think about, what does wealth mean to you? How would it look like in your life? And what would it provide for you in your creativity, in your sense of well-being, in your career, in your relationships, and all the ways? Just think about that for a little bit. And I want to just mention that the AMP blueprint, which I mentioned earlier, is designed to help you align your personal definition of wealth with some actionable steps that you will work out on your own going through the blueprint. It's designed to guide you in building a financial foundation that supports your creativity rather than limiting it. So I definitely hope you'll download that. So let's look at some practical strategies for financial stability. I tend to mention this a lot because I think it's really important. And I just did a moment ago, diversifying income streams. Okay. So one key to financial freedom is diversified income. As artists, we often rely too much on a single source, whether it's art sales, commissions, even teaching. But to truly thrive, we need multiple streams of income that will create more time freedom and more creative freedom for yourself, as well as more financial freedom. So anyway, so for example, in my career, I've balanced income from selling paintings, offering workshops, writing grants, and coaching other creatives. These are the more current income streams that I have going on right now. And there's some digital products that I've created that generate passive income as well. So these are all things that I've done myself. I've taught myself how to do them. I've taken courses, and I've worked with mentors and coaches, and I've put these practices into place, and I am now beginning to see the rewards of them. And that is why I'm really anxious to share them with other people in my creative community. Then there's, of course, budgeting and planning. Usually, well, many of us might be like, no, don't talk to me about budgeting and planning. Ugh. But this is another important piece, really, truly, is budgeting. And especially when your income fluctuates from month to month. So it's important to plan for the highs and lows. And in the AMP blueprint, I've included a budgeting template that is specifically designed for artists with irregular income. You'll learn how to manage your finances more predictably, even when your income isn't predictable. And then fundraising and grant writing. Okay, so don't underestimate the power of fundraising, whether it's through crowdfunding or grant writing or direct letters to patrons. I have done all of these. I have implemented each of these strategies myself. And for years, I have received financial support from all three of these: crowdfunding, direct letters to patrons, as well as grants, applying for grants. I've had incredible success with these. And I know many artists do shy away from grants because they think the process is too complicated and the field is very competitive. And like me, you just might not be into it. However, here's the thing. I've said this many times because I heard it from a mentor on arts and grant funding and all. They say, if you haven't received a grant yet, you have not submitted enough grants. So keep applying, make sure you're applying to opportunities that are appropriate for what you want to create. Yeah, that's really important. And I have a whole training on that and a whole workshop on that as well. So if you want to learn more about that, you can reach out to me or you can look it up online. There are lots of amazing resources that can help you with grant writing. So let's see, the other thing I wanted to talk about is basically like overcoming some financial myths, right? So let's address the elephant in the room, the starving artist myth. This narrative has been passed down for generations, but it's time to let it go. The truth is, artists can and should build wealth. It's not about selling out, it's about valuing your work and your time. And when you adopt a mindset of abundance, you open the door to many more opportunities, both creatively and financially. So think about that when you let go of that starving artist myth and just say, this is just not relevant to me. It might be a romantic notion that some people want to hold on to and cling to and live by for the rest of their life, struggling as an artist. Okay, fine, that's a choice. They can do that. Personally, I don't want to be struggling my whole life and being like playing out the starving artist myth. No, I love food, first of all. I love abundance and connection and community. And I don't know, I keep hearing weird sounds and I think it's from outside. I hope it's not from my computer. Yes, it's from outside. I do not have a soundproof recording studio. So, and nor am I planning on having one because that's not really key for my project here. So what was I going to say? So the starving artist myth. I've definitely lived in that space for a really large portion of my professional career as an artist. And here's the thing that sucks about it most, for me anyway, is that when I am not well resourced, when I don't have the money to pay my bills, to pay my rent, to, be able to go to the grocery store and feel confident that my card won't be declined at the cash register. Like I am just so much happier when I know everything is handled. It doesn't have to be, huge amounts of money in the bank account and reserves. It's about knowing that my everyday choices, my everyday spending is covered and I have room for more and I have room for fun. If I don't have that, my mood is so heavy. It's so dark. I question everything about who I am, what I'm doing, what do I have to offer in the world? Like I second guess myself all over the place. I have just incredible low self-esteem that happens when I am struggling financially. So I don't think I can make good work in that condition. And I know that I'm not pleasant company when I'm in that condition. So I definitely recommend not living out the starving artist narrative. That's just a made up narrative. There are loads and loads and loads of very wealthy artists in the world, both from the past as well as currently. You would be probably very pleasantly surprised. So what else did I want? I want to check my notes here. In the AMP blueprint, the AMP blueprint, I've also included a few mindset exercises to help you shift those limiting beliefs that you might discover when you really look at it and you think about, what are these things that I'm saying to myself? What are these beliefs that I believe about money, about artists, about wealth? You know, these are important to look at. So whether it's visualizing your ideal financial life or journaling about your money fears, these exercises are designed to help you develop a healthier relationship with money. And it's totally possible. My life has been transformed by these kinds of exercises. I've helped hundreds of others do the same. I've seen thousands of others do it as well. So it's really potent work. I encourage you to do it. Don't be afraid of it. You've got this. And let's see. Let me share a quick story about an artist I worked with who was struggling to change. No, she was struggling to charge what her work was worth, right? She was really undervaluing it. And after doing some mindset work with her and changing her approach to how she sees her work and how and getting some feedback on how it's even perceived in the world, she not only started charging higher prices, but also began attracting a new level of clients who valued her work. This shift didn't just happen overnight, and it didn't just change her bank account overnight, but it did change her entire creative practice, as well as her self-image and her bank account. So it took some work. She was courageous. She looked into, like, what are these beliefs I'm holding on to, or that I can discover, and how would not believing those things change how I feel about myself or about my work or about wealth or about clients or about any of these things, right? So there's great value in taking the time and having the patience to do this work. Is so worthwhile. I can't tell you how important it is. It makes the biggest difference. So to kind of wrap up here, I want to share the main takeaways. First, redefine wealth in a way that works for you, right? Is it time, money, creative freedom? Which kind of freedom? Maybe it's all the freedoms. For me, it's all the freedoms. Why not? Second, build a financial foundation with practical strategies like diversified income streams and budgeting. So I didn't say much about budgeting because I have another whole training on it, and maybe I'll do an episode on it. But the budgeting is to be able to budget for your core, most minimal expenses, like what can you get by with, and then what do you need to feel more resourced, and you can do it incrementally and work towards that budget, your budget goals, over time and in small increments. Don't like go, I make $2,500 a month now with all the different ways I try to make money, and I really want to be making $25,000 a month. Boom. That is going to just mess up your whole nervous system. And your mind will be like, no, it's not possible. And so you'll just be in resistance the whole time. So maybe you could say, my goal is to go from $2,500 of income in a month. I want to bump it up to $3,000 a month of income. How can I do that? What are a few things I can do? And you would be surprised to learn, possibly, that AI, ChatGPT in particular, can be super helpful with this kind of brainstorming and problem solving. So if you are curious about that, drop me a note and I can direct you to some of the trainings I have either already inside the Create Collective or coming up in the future. Okay. So let's see. And finally, another key takeaway is cultivating a mindset of abundance, and that empowers you to thrive as an artist. Okay. So call to action. Let's see. I want you to download the AMP blueprint, the AMP blueprint. It's really about art, money, pleasure, and how to take your financial freedom to the next level. Don't forget to download the blueprint, okay? It's packed with tips and templates and exercises to help you along the way. And I would love to hear about your financial goals or challenges. Share them with me on social media or shoot me an email. I read every single message and I'm here to support you. So that's it for today's Thriving Creative, episode 5. And I look forward to being with you again next week, where we will explore more goodness, which has to do with art, money, and pleasure for creatives and how to build a juicy, abundant life for yourself. So like and subscribe, look for those show notes in the download link in the show notes, and just be well. I really appreciate you so much. I am grateful that you're here, and I really look forward to hearing from you. Tell me about you. Tell me about your challenges. Tell me about your successes. Ask me questions. I would be delighted to help. All right. Be well, my friends. Mwah. Take care.